what did you guys think of the announcement trailer for the Spider-Man DLC? We got our first look at the man himself, of course. So what was your initial reaction? Let me know in the comment section below. Now, we got tons of stuff to get through in this video, so let's just dive into it. As always, if you can drop a like, that'll be fantastic. You'll be granted with 15 plus years of good luck, so why would you not do that? I have no idea. Now, let's just dive straight into this stuff. So, with my reaction to this trailer, when I saw it, honestly, and this is a thing that I really want to mention as well, being the most important, when it comes down to these cinematic style trailers, right, you can only really take it for like a pinch of salt, because it's just one of those things to always reveal the character. It's the actual gameplay that matters the most. Now, today at 5 PM EST, which should be probably like a couple of hours after this video goes live, is when they're going to be revealing the outfits for Spider-Man. Now, whether or not we'll get a snippet of the gameplay potentially on that dev live stream, I have no idea, but my initial reaction was, okay, this character actually looks really, really good. In fact, it's designed a lot better than what I imagined, and I think designing Spider-Man, because we already know where that benchmark is set with Insomniac Games as well, is probably safe to say majority of people's expectation was really high. I know a lot of people were saying that the Spider-Man logo was a little bit off on the suit, etc. That stuff doesn't really bug me. I think the overall sort of reveal and his charisma was really, really good. Of course, the voice actor, who that is, I believe it's still yet to be revealed. But to me, again, it wasn't something that threw me off. I thought it was done really well. I guess one of the biggest things, though, is people were talking about Spider-Man's build and how ultimately he's a lot more buffer than what initially people did assume. Now, again, that does have its relevance behind it to an extent. So, the whole concept and what was actually announced, in fact, was what is the difference between the hero event with Spider-Man and then the operations that we had with like Clint and Kate Bishop, for example, and overall what makes Spider-Man different, like who is he as a character. Now, on Reddit, what we was told by a Crystal Dynamic developer is that he's out of high school and around the college age, and he's been doing this for longer than Kamala, but started up after A-Day, if he's remembering the details correct. Now, what we do know as far as like the overall story goes is it's more or less a mystery on who his character is to begin with. He doesn't ultimately reveal himself. Of course, in the trailer, when you see the ending, it was like all the Avengers coming together. All the characters that we got right now, it just shows like this is a really, really good team, of course, especially with everything that everyone's done so far. But again, at the end of it, it's more of a situation on, okay, well, can they further build on this story or not? So that's kind of like where we stand right now. But knowing that he's out of high school and just kind of like taking a look at his character in general, it now does make a bit more sense and there's a bit more context to it. Now, to go on to what I mentioned a couple of seconds ago on what is the difference between the hero event with Spider-Man and then the operations with Clint and Kate and Black Panther, of course, as well. The detail that we got here is, first and foremost, I'll just probably show it on screen and read it word by word, is, as you know from our roadmap update, the Spider-Man with Great Power Hero event comes to PlayStation players with patch 2.2 on November the 30th. So what is a hero event and how does it differ from an operation? Now, the overarching difference is scale, which impacts the way the story is told. Now, the hero event doesn't come with a story campaign in the way an operation does. So the Spider-Man hero narrative is told through a combination of cutscenes and dialogue and a chain of documents, and there are objectives for his story that unlock these documents as they are completed, which as a result unfolds his narrative arc and gradually reveals his journey in our original Avengers world. Now, as a result of that, Spider-Man will already be unlocked for existing missions rather than having to recruit him as a playable hero during his story via story missions. So I think that's pretty much clear enough, and I think it's actually better. I personally do prefer that. If they went ahead and released more DLC characters in a similar style like this, I think it's definitely safe to say we'd have way more characters be added into the game in a shorter time period, because I guess although it's still a lot of work to just add a brand new character in and the whole design aspect, etc, etc, it's a lot less work to, of course, you know, do the full story and the, I guess, just the voice acting in general, etc, etc. There is so much stuff that goes on in general when you explore that road in terms of implementation for a DLC character. Now, I guess the other argument would probably be the only reason we may be seeing it as far as the character being dropped in terms of a DLC this style is simply because it is an exclusive, of course, to PlayStation, and they're limited in terms of who's going to be playing with this DLC character. So, as relevant as that does sound, in fact, I probably do agree with it the most, as opposed to them just randomly implementing the character in this way. It's simply because they more than likely know, I mean, it's a no-brainer, you're capped at how many people are going to experience this, and you got to remember it's a free DLC as well. Had it had been a paid DLC, then maybe even if it was a paid exclusive DLC, which still to a degree wouldn't really make sense, but it would make more sense at that point to then implement this character just like they did for Black Panther, Hawkeye, etc, etc, to where they have their own story. Now, is this gonna really cause a big impact in terms of how the consumer, so us, and how we play the character in terms of having that connection? Will that change? Now, it really depends how it's been done. I do enjoy, in fact I've loved the DLC so far. Of course, Black Panther's DLC, as far as the story went, it was fantastic, and I sometimes feel those elements are crucial because you get to know the character a bit more, you get to have a connection with the character as well. But then equally, it just depends how well this has been done. So if you do sit through the cutscenes in this case, and the dialogue, and the chains of documents, then maybe everyone will be in a situation to where they build their own sort of story up, I guess you could say, on their representation on the character, in this case, of course, being Spider-Man. I don't know, it's really hard to say because you have to see it and experience it to really give your overall, I guess, feedback on it. But my 2 cents is, it's a no-brainer that if they stick with this structure, had it now just been a general sort of way they drop DLCs, then I have no worry in terms of what the roadmap would be as far as DLC character releases would go next year. But unfortunately, and fortunately at the same time, I just don't think this will be something they commonly stick to. But leave your thoughts on this stuff in the comment section below. And that's going to wrap up this video here. So, of course, we'll see our outfits today. November the 30th is not far away at all. So it's going to be very exciting. We all know what to expect very briefly to a degree because we know the combat's going to be great. It's just, when do you get bored of the game after that again? That's something that I just, as a consumer again, and I want to keep saying as a consumer because, again, the way I play the game is just the exact same way you play the game yourself, except I may just not be as good as you guys. So it really just boils down to how fun can this DLC be, and then how much more fun can they continue to add into a game in a shorter time period. And if they figure that gap and they basically build the bridge being the solution on how quick they can get stuff out, then I think the game's still got a positive future. It's just leaving that gap and that bridge basically not being built as quick enough. But guys, I'll see you in the next video. Till then, have yourselves a ridiculously amazing day, and adios amigos.